Today's warm-up will continue our practice of substituting in for variables using the order of operations and doing so with rational numbers. So the first thing we do is we have to substitute in for each variable that we see. So in other words, I see this s here. I'm going to replace that with 8. And that, of course, is divided by, that also is the same thing as divided by. So that's 8 divided by r, which is negative 5, 6. I'm sure this looks a little funny right now, but you'll get used to looking at it like that. And plus 2 times the quantity of negative 3 1/4 plus w, which is 7/8, plus the quantity of 6 times 7/8 minus negative 3 1/4. So, as always, we start with parentheses. And the first parentheses we get to is right here. So, that means we're going to have to be using our acronym and setting up our little chart here. I'm going to do that off to the side. So, I love eating apples and avocados. So I is my improper fraction. So that means I need to change negative 3 1/4. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 more is 13, so that's negative 13/4 plus 7/8. The LCM of 4 and 8 is, of course, 8. So now I'm going to find the equivalent fractions. So I'm going to have some negative number over 8 plus some other number over 8. Well, the first one is very easy to see because it's already over 8. So I'm going to leave that 7 right there. And of course I say to myself, how do I get from 4 to 8 times 2? So 13 times 2 is 26. Now that I have equivalent fractions, I can simply ignore the denominators and just use the numerators. I've got negative 26 plus 7/8. Whoops, I don't need the 7, sorry. It's negative 26 plus 7. Sorry about that. So I know now that I have to find the absolute values of these. So that's 26 and 7. The signs are different. Find the difference. So I know I'm going to be subtracting. 26 minus 7, that is a minus sign. Sorry, it looks funny, is 19. And the sign of the larger absolute value is here, so it's negative 19. I've got my numerator, my denominator, so the answer is negative 19/8. And then I know that I'm going to put that back in for the parentheses. I am actually going to go on to our next page here because obviously I'm not going to have enough room to do that. So hopefully you're following along. And the next page, I'm going to rewrite the expressions. I'm going to have 8 divided by negative 5, 6. I'm going to make this one a little bit larger. Plus 2 times negative 19/8 plus the quantity, whoops, I forgot to leave that there, plus the quantity of 6 times 7/8 minus negative 3 1/4. So I'm all set with the first set of parentheses. I move on to the next, and I know that the first thing I get to is 6 times 7/8. So I need them both to be in their improper fraction form, so that I put that 6 over 1 times 7/8. To make my life easier, I am going to cross cancel first. So what goes into 6 and 8? Well, they're both even, so that means they're both divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Then I keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. And 3 times 7, of course, is 21. And 1 times 4 is 4. I can bring this right down here. Minus negative 3 1/4. So again, I want to set up my graphic organizer to do this, but I should already notice that both of them are already in the form of having fourths in the denominator. So this should be pretty easy to do. I still, however, am going to use that graphic organizer. So I love eating apples and avocados. My improper fractions, well, 21 fourths is already in its improper fraction form, minus negative 3 1/4. Well, again, we've already done that once, so it's negative 13 fourths. The least common multiple already is 4. These are already set up properly. 21 minus negative 13, both of them over 4. Ignore the denominators. Deal only with the numerators. 21 minus negative 13. I get to cha-cha-cha. So let's stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Don't forget to cha-cha-cha so you can get it right. And then that's simply 21 plus 13, of course, is 34. Now I have my numerator and my denominator, so that is 34 fourths. So the problem that I now have is 8, let me put another color here, 8 divided by negative 5/6 plus 2 times negative 19/8 plus, now don't forget the last thing I had to solve here was this, and the answer to that is here, 34 fourths. So I'm going to bring that right over here. 34 fourths. So I am finally now done with the parentheses. I next am going to go to exponents. There are no exponents, so that's all done. So now I have multiplication and division in order from left to right. So that means the first thing that I get to is right here. That is division. Let's not forget that. So I'm going to rewrite it in the form that we're used to seeing it. 8 over 1, they need to be in proper fractions, divided by negative 5/6. Don't forget that math Macarena. Keep the first, flip the second, now we multiply. So I keep the first, I flip the second, and then we multiply. So keep the top with the top, 8 times 6 is 48, and bottom with the bottom, 1 times negative 5, of course this is negative 5. It does not matter where that negative is, whether you keep it on the top, the bottom, or right in the middle. So now I am going to go on to my next page to rewrite this so that we can actually see what it, whoa, I just noticed I wrote 46 instead of 48. I do apologize if that confused anybody. But at least I caught it before I got too far. Always double checking my work as I move along. So here we go. Like I said, moving on to our next page, and I'm going to just bring that problem right over so we can see what we're doing. We've got negative 48 fifths. That's the one that we just found. Plus 2 times 19/8. Excuse me, that's negative 19/8 plus 34 fourths. So, of course, the first thing I have to do is right here. I'm continuing to do my division and multiplication in order from left to right, which means I've got this multiplication to do right here. So I'm going to rewrite that. It's 2 over 1, because they all have to be in their improper fraction form. 2 over 1 times negative 19 over 8. First thing I want to do, of course, is cross cancel. I know that 2 and 8 are both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. I've got 1 over 1 here, so this is very simply negative 19 fourths. I'll bring down the rest of that problem as I continue to funnel down. And I'm now done with all the multiplication and division. So the only thing I have left to do is addition and subtraction in order from left to right. So that means the first thing I get to is right here. I'm going to underline that because I'm not doing that yet. So I'm going to set up my organizer. I love eating apples and avocados. I've got negative 48 fifths plus negative 19, sorry, that overlapped there, fourths. So the least common multiple of 5 and 4, that is a 5 there, is 20. So my equivalent fractions are going to have some negative number over 20 plus another negative number also over 20. To get from 5 to 20, I'm going to multiply times 4. 48 times 4. Well, I know that 40 times 4 is 160. I know that 8 times 4 is 32. So 160 plus 32 is negative 192. And then how do I get from 4 to 20? That would be times 5. So I do 19 times 5. I'm going to approach this one a little bit differently. I know 19 is right next to 20. It's only one less than 20. So 20 times 5, of course, would be 100. So it has to be 5 less than that. That makes this 95. This is very similar to when I do the addition, only this time I'm taking away instead of adding 2. So next, I know that I'm going to add or subtract as usual. I'm going to move these A's in a little bit. So in this case, of course, I'm adding. I've got negative 192 plus negative 95. The signs are the same. Find the sum. So I'm going to find the absolute value of both of these. I've got 192 plus 95. Now, again, I'm going to use that same thing that I did earlier. 95 is awfully close to 100. So if I had 192 plus 100, that would be 292. But 95 is 5 less than 100, so it's 5 less than that 292, meaning it would be 287. They are both negative, so my answer is also negative. I now have my numerator and my denominator, so I've got negative 287 over 20. So if I rewrite this, I'm going to have negative 287 plus 35 fourths. So I know that that's already my improper fraction form. So that's negative 287 over 20 plus 34 fourths. I am going to set up my graphic organizer. I love eating apples and avocados. So the least common multiple of 20 and 4, of course, is 20. So I'm going to now have some number over 20, that is negative, plus some other number over 20. The first one is already over 20, so I don't need to do anything. That's negative 287. My next number, how do I get from 4 to 20? Well, that, of course, is times 5. So I'm going to do this one the way that we've been doing it. It's going to be 34 times 5. So that's 30 times 5 is 150. And then 4 times 5 is 20. And 150 plus 20, of course, is 170. So I ignore my denominators, bring only over my numerators. Negative 287 plus 170. The signs are different. Find the difference. So therefore, when I find the absolute value of both of these, I'm going to find the difference. So it's 287 minus 170. Well, 287 minus 100 would be 187. Take away 70 more gives me 117. The larger absolute value is my negative 287, so my answer is negative. I now have got my numerator and my denominator, so I got negative 117 over 20. I cannot leave that like that because that little tiny 20 is much too small to hold up that big giant 117. 20 goes into 117 5 times with 17 left over. So it's 5 and 17 twentieths, and I can't forget that it is negative. And there's my answer.